fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, say. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
What up, Coolest Geeks? It's me, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. How are you doing? Care Bear stare out to you all. I noticed I'm like super fucking low energy in my All Your Favorite Bands Suck episode that was out a little bit late. I'm working construction this week, just making some extra money, and I am just fucking exhausted. I was gonna do the show last night, but I was too tired. I slept all day. Well, I didn't sleep. I barely got like a normal amount of sleep. But it's nice. It'll be really nice when I get my little paycheck for the end of this week. And lots of cool stuff going on for me in my life beyond busting my ass right now. Like the really good news that you guys are not alone who are listening. I had 1.1 something downloads last month between my two shows, All Your Favorite Bands Sucks. All Your Favorite Bands Suck, which is my music show showcasing all of my favorite bands, and I listen to a plethora of music, lots of different genres and whatnot, and there's tons. There's like 26 or 28 or something, I don't know, a bunch of different bands and stuff up there now. This week I just did Green Day. I've had them stuck in my head ever since. Listen to Nine Inch Nails now, and that show's been doing really well. That one's newer, and Coolest Geek Alive has been around for a little while. We were like flirting with being like under like 500,000 downloads for a little while, and then we switched around with different ad houses and stuff, and we like kind of fluctuated, but we've come roaring back, and we had like 700 and something thousand downloads last month. So super awesome. Thank you. We have an audience. It's so cool. You can write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. I love hearing from you guys, and feel free to add to the comment section. I appreciate you guys listening to the show and caring about what an insider in this business of creative entertainment has to say. For those of you who don't know me, I've worked as a professional comic book writer since I was in my early 20s. Started with Marvel and DC and Disney Pixar and the Muppets, and like I've worked for every major company, mostly, and tons of little ones. And now I've been doing more independent stuff, which reminds me, Fucking for Our Future, which is my new book, is going to go up on Kickstarter, I think tomorrow. And I'm really excited about that. You can sign up for notifications. By the time you hear this, it'll be up. So, I mean, go to Kickstarter, and like there's an early boob special, which is really funny. It's called Fucking for Our Future. If you go to the www.bld.sts.com, bldsts.com. That's what it is. bldsts.com. Blacklight District Studios. That's the website, and it's just Fucking for Our Future right now, but it has a preview of all the stuff if you want to go check it out, and a link to the campaign and all that. Anyway, All Your Favorite Bands Suck is every Monday, and if this is your first time listening to Coolest Geek Alive, we do this every Wednesday where we actually talk about like really the culture at large and the shit going on within it. I try to really not just be following the wave. Like if I was following the wave, I would just be doing something on the Acolyte right now. And I mean, this is a little Acolyte related because what is going on with the Acolyte is, it's so funny. The Rotten Tomatoes came up swiftly as a simple aggregate for, people getting a feel for what a movie, had to offer. And it very quickly became a commodity that was bought up a number of times. And now it's owned by Fandango, and Universal owns it. It's like all these conglomerates where they have like multiple owners and stuff. But that means literally like Universal promotes, let's say, Fast and the Furious or something. And they're getting money from Fandango. They're getting money from the Rotten Tomatoes users. And they have a a commitment to not a commitment. Sorry, this is like the wrong word. I'm like too exhausted from fucking work this week. No, they have an iron in the fire. They've got a movie, and they control this aggregate Rotten Tomatoes that's become very powerful, which is why it's been sold, bought, and sold, and because everybody wants to control it. And people like filmmakers hate it, and you'll start to understand why they hate it, because there's so many fucking nuances about Rotten Tomatoes that makes it like, oh, look what they're doing. Like, look at what they've done. So let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. First thing is that Rotten Tomatoes is not at a glance what you think it is. Like, this isn't even like what I was planning on talking about, but as I dug into Rotten Tomatoes even deeper, I was like, oh my God, there was a whole bunch of other things that are going on that I wasn't even aware of, but I knew it was being gamed already. The score that you see on Rotten Tomatoes is not a average of all of the reviews from critics and all of the reviews from fans. It is actually a very strange metric. It is positive or negative. What percentage is positive? If the percentage positive is 99%, then it's 99%. If the percentage positive is 60%, it's 60%, right? So the positive thing, the flip comes around in those 70 scores. The ones that are somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of wiggle room, and they will flip scores for different films. You can be more lenient with a system like this. And I don't know if they've been caught doing this, but the fact that it is there to be done so easily, dude, they're fucking doing that. And that's just the beginning of it. So like, again, when you see let's say there's a middling movie that is getting a average 70%, but it's got backing of some studios behind it, and they're, trying to push all those 70s to be viewed as positive. That 70 movie can have a 90% or 90 something percent. And these things are happening. The conversation is always, man, the fucking critics and it doesn't line up. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that too. So the critics, let's get to the critics. There are like 3,000 critics that they have on this thing, and I know some of these critics, and I heard somebody on YouTube talking about this as well. Them knowing some of these people who are critics, and they're like cosplayers who are influencers online with a little bit of following or whatever, and they get invited to the premieres and they say good things about the movies, whether or not they like them, and they talk badly about them in private. And a lot of these people don't even really like this stuff in the first place. This is just their pathway to being on camera and other things. The people who want to be the people who are on camera, generally speaking, they really want to be on camera. I'm like an oddity. I've spent a lot of time on camera. I don't really like to be on camera. I switched over to like doing YouTube live streams for all the shows, and I immediately switched back because I hated it. I like this, like podcasts. I don't like being on camera. I do it, and I do it well, and you'll see me do it, and I always make it. It doesn't look like I don't want to do it, but I mean, for years, viscerally, like not wanting to do it was the main thing that I was fucking having to get through. I don't want to do this. But that's not the bulk of the entertainment industry. Most of the entertainment industry, they want to be on camera, and and it became, and this is going to sound insulting, but it just is what it is. Okay, so just like this is, there was a crop of not quite as attractive, more girl next door, a little nerdier, or a little more plain Jane or whatever, in the hosting world, and acting world, a number of them, who I met along the way as a comic book writer who was also happening to be a host and was hosting, geek culture stuff or whatever, who just clearly just knew not. They did not know anything about anything. I spent a decent amount of time with them. I love this subject matter. So, I try to talk. Oh, you're a fan? Okay, cool. Like, well, what can we talk about? Kind of thing. And, and forgive them. There's usually a thing like Harry Potter or some anime that they really like or some video game that they've really gotten into or whatever. But, like they'll focus on one thing. And, but it's because they're not really of the culture. And this is not to say that there are no women in the culture. Just the women in the culture, much like the men in the culture, aren't necessarily drawn to being fucking commentators. So many of the people who commentate on this shit, like we commentate on it because we were aggravated that nobody was saying the things that we wanted to say. Like, I mean, that's why I'm here. Like, there's so many people scratching the surface of things that I'd like to say because they're not in it, but being in it and also being an independent where I don't fucking give a shit anymore. And like, I don't really care. I'm not trying to get a job with Marvel because like, I was so nice to them. It's like, and honestly, like all my criticism comes from a very nice place. I love this stuff. I want them to get it right. And this whole Hollywood system has become this crazy game. And Rotten Tomatoes has become a big part of the game. And this is why these people, like the art of what they're doing is being lost. Like think about that the 70% movie and the movie, let's say the art film that some of the people really get and some of the people don't get. So they're like, they've got like 90s and 90s and 90, but there's a couple people who really didn't like the film and like give it like a bad write-up or whatever. And their percentage is down compared to that guy who's just 70. There's a lot of different ways that you'll see, that this can go about. Just sort of adjusting the perception of the quality of films, of people's work. On the positive side of things, it is all skewed in their favor. There has been various things that they have done at different times, like holding back the audience score, even though there was definitely enough audience reviews already, but like, claiming that they're getting review bombed. Oh, let's talk about review bombing. The review bombing thing is a fucking myth. The modern day is one where people watch a YouTube video to get information on a thing, and then sometimes go act on it, like go watch a trailer and give it a downvote or whatever. That doesn't count. There's waves of things going on the internet all the time. But I don't see any coordinated effort by anybody in any way, shape, or form. Nobody's ever taken fucking credit. Yes, that's me. I am Q2, the leader of the anonymous fucking bombing the reviews. However, review bombing the other way is clear and present. Review bombing positive reviews. How many reviewers did I say were on fucking Rotten Tomatoes? It's like 3,000 or something like that. So that means that essentially Disney and Universal and all these studios, they have an endless supply if they're willing to, sort of pay up and activate these people or whatever, of people who want to keep their access. And, we didn't talk about that necessarily. So, part of me speaking as freely as I do is like, I don't give a shit. I make independent things like, my book, Fucking for Our Future. Go to Kickstarter, help me make independent things. So like not giving a shit can pay off. But, if you are in the system, you gotta do the system thing and you don't want to fuck with the system and bite the hand that feeds. So, I mean, all of these people who have access, get to go to a screening of the movie for free, brought there by the studio and whatnot. They have a lot of incentives to continue that relationship, keep those people happy. So often is the case if somebody really doesn't like a movie, they'll just not cover it. Or if they didn't really like the movie, but there were some things about the movie they liked, they'll focus on the good things and give it like a middle review. Like it's the equivalent of, oh, it's my best friend and I got to judge them and they're going to see this later and I don't want to hurt their feelings, And except there's fucking money essentially, and I know you're like, "Oh, well, they're not getting paid." They're getting paid in prestige. They're going to Hollywood and they're doing these things. And I mean, for a lot of these people, this is like the bulk of their income is that they get to do these things and they get paid this little thing there and that one to be influencers. So many people are making their living influencing society. And it so happens as well that there's a company, and I forget the name of the company, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure there's more than just this company, but this company's been discovered that would go after the critics directly and go ask them, hey, could you review this movie where, it's got positive buzz, but, and if we had some good reviews, it could be really good, and sort of the thing. And they asked them what would happen if I didn't like the movie. They said, well, we would just ask you to post it somewhere where Rotten Tomatoes wouldn't find it, where it wouldn't register on Rotten Tomatoes, like a private blog or something like that. So they're asking people to write the part of the review that is bad in a different place and post the review without, like numbers or whatever, I guess. Because I guess some aggravates for some of these things, like, that you can put a number, you can rate the thing, or you cannot rate the thing. I don't know exactly how that works. That didn't come up in any of the things that I looked in, and I've never understood that necessarily. But these influencers, and they get paid. They'll get paid to do these. Say, hey, we're like. Do you see already how perhaps this isn't the best system, right? So then you have the other side of this thing, which is essentially censorship of the audience. Not only in cases where they're claiming that there's review bombing. They are, for any number of reasons, they can go through and take, like in different cases with Star Wars shows, they've been going through and taking out any review that seemed to have any sort of racist connotation or whatever else like that. But again, when this is left to their discretion, of course, they are going to lean towards helping themselves and helping the studios. One of the studios owns the freaking thing. And Disney, former Disney executives, former people who have worked at Disney are some of the main executives at the company right now at Rotten Tomatoes. So, it's a friendly atmosphere between the studios and Rotten Tomatoes. And Rotten Tomatoes has this very ambiguous kind of thing that leans towards being more favorable towards everything. Ultimately, and can be souped up to obscure real vitriol. Because, if you start getting rid of all of the negative reviews of the thing, or obstructing this one, or obstructing that one, or obstructing that, all of a sudden, of course it goes up. People... different YouTubers have reported, and like dozens of different YouTubers have reported this, that they have been watching the numbers for different things, for their channel so that they could cover it. And they have watched the numbers, like the view counts for like negative, critic scores, go down. Like the amount of critics go down to a lower number of critics, and the score go up in real time. And I forget which show I had been watching the coverage on. I think it was Ahsoka. And there had been it was getting very badly reviewed, and then immediately they went like obviously when things like this happen, it's because they think that it's going to be more successful than it's going to be, and then they get there and they go into a panic. Oh fuck, we gotta handle this or whatever. These studio executives, these people behind the scenes, they will fucking do anything. It is crazy. It's crazy that we have a fucking Star Wars show from Harvey Weinstein's former assistant Leslie Headland when we know what freaking Harvey Weinstein was like, and that this lady is still in the business. Just like there's so many people that it's just like you can't quite go. You didn't say anything. You didn't say you didn't say anything. Who is it that didn't say anything that saw something? Somebody had to have seen something. Former assistant, you definitely saw something. All right, get her out of here. Like, I don't know who to pick, but like, I feel like groomer, get her out. Get her out. I don't know. I said already that Star Wars was dead. And by all accounts, it absolutely is. I mean, we heard the rumors about this. Leslie Henlon, nobody was excited about this at all. The ratings are a disaster, and what they're doing to the story, as predicted, is fucking awful, and people absolutely hate it. But there's barely anybody there fucking complaining, and nobody really gives a shit anymore. So there you go. And Doctor Who is in the same fucking boat. It's like just proving itself out. I hate being right about that kind of thing. And of course, it was a little bit of a news item for some of the YouTubers and whatnot that basically the various cope and the different things that were being done to try to quell the dissent for the Acolyte, and make it all out to be like it's some sort of racist, blah 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 blah. Nobody is thinking that. It's really funny because I feel like the energy is so clear when people are shit talking this thing and they're like, oh, lesbian witches in space, man. It's not lesbian witches in space. Like, it's not a detest of lesbians. It's a goofing on the predictability of the DEI world that we've come to live in, where the narrative is being forced to sort of tick a whole bunch of different boxes that have become a pattern that the audience recognizes and they are goofing on. It's not like, oh God, I'm so grossed out by these lesbians, man. It's a fucking, and who can blame them when it is as ham-fisted as it is? Like, this is the same thing with what is it, the sequel to Mad Max Fury Road? I keep wanting to say Osaka, but Furiosa, which I saw with Grayson, which was great, but the audience, nobody went to go see it. Why didn't they go to see it? And and again, it's like, don't shoot the messenger here, because so often it's like, I'm not even the main point of this blade here. I recognize what's going on. I recognize what the audience is feeling, and I think that the audience is the most important part of the game. So it's just silly to fucking fight the audience. I think you guys are retarded. It's like don't shoot me for telling you how the audience is reacting to this shit, because it's real. This is what's going on. The audience is now fed up with this shit sight unseen. They just see the fingerprints of that sort of DEI initiative, for lack of a better term, and they go, I've been fooled a fucking million times now. I don't want to see this shit. And then meanwhile, we've got like a hit with Bad Boys 4 this past weekend, which apparently is very not woke and, typical to the thing. And I'm sorry for those people who are like, it's ridiculous, this thing of like, but it is the woke thing. It's like it's like, oh man, you got to be hyper empathetic, man. Like, it's so crazy, because this is who I was, not the hyper empathetic, but that's as a society, we needed to be empathetic for years and years and years. And then I watched things flip and then like become extreme. And I'm sorry, you guys are crazy. Quit it. Like, everybody's like inciting of each other. It drives me so nuts. I hate seeing how it's come, like where it's come to. But like, it's come to where it's come to. And oh my God, the industry has lost the plot with the audience and all these things, and they think that their fucking tricks are going sight unseen, and they are, because largely there's not that many people who know this information, who understand this deeply. You know, the benefit of all the information that I'm giving you is not even necessarily from personal fucking experience, but it's because I love to understand everything that I do very deeply, and I study it very deeply. You know, I used to read lots of magazines. I like magazines. Now it's become more YouTube. I tend to do a lot of stuff on YouTube, occasionally a podcast, lots of books. But I'm always absorbing information and learning things. And then there's practical application of things that I understand because I'm in the fucking business and I have a lot of friends and people in the business. But it really comes down to getting the best information you can have. And there's a ton of people, shout out to some of these people who I've been on their channels because they're great. Great film critics like Film Threat, who will champion really great genre cinema when he finds them. Shout out to Chris Gore and Alan Ying over there. They're great buddies of mine. Or Valiant Renegade and WDW Pro, who are numbers guys. Valiant Renegade in particular. WDW Pro really focuses on the behind the scenes of Disney and the stuff there, and he's been following it for a long time. Valiant Renegade is like a stockbroker kind of dude, like financial analyst or whatever. And I'm not sure if I'm mischaracterizing him or whatever, but he's a numbers guy who understands the business and understands how, what these numbers mean, and what goes into making different numbers for movies and different stuff like that. And there's a lot of different people who are really good behind the scenes, people like lawyers who are investigating various things. To hear it from a YouTuber who's like, man, this is interesting to me, versus to hear it from a YouTuber who's like, I'm a lawyer and here's the lawsuit. I filed, a request for it. I got it in front of me. Here it is. I'm going to read it to you. So there's a lot of great information that you can get out in the world. And it's a growing, I don't want to say market, a growing audience of people who have basically come to be more entertained by tearing apart the terrible entertainment that is being made for us on YouTube and various platforms, instead of enjoying it, instead of enjoying that stuff and going to the movies and whatever else. And within that growing audience, there's a lot of savvy audience members. And I do think the audience has gotten smart enough to be dangerous. And that's terrible for the studios, but, good for independent films and good for a real transformation of the Hollywood system, because it is long fucking broken, and has needed to be changed out and repaired for a very fucking long time. It's really, crazy that this fucking shit show has been allowed to go on for so long. Hopefully things like Jeffrey Epstein and now P. Diddy and whoever else he ends up dragging down with him will continue to open up the entertainment industry to better practices. I had a very good friend of mine who used to basically go around championing better practices in the film industry, talking about basically how wasteful the spending is, how much stealing is going on these really big budget films. How many people are basically taking money in this way or that way or whatever else, because it's the same thing with Rotten Tomatoes. They figure out ways to game the system. The Hollywood system has been around so long that people figure out ways to game it. And this is it. It's like it's all a game. Rotten Tomatoes has just become a dirty, dirty game. There's so many ways for them to fucking mess around with this. If they can hold back a review once, they can hold back a review whenever. They can quietly hold back reviews. There's been situations often with lots of different things where, because Rotten Tomatoes is trying to maintain some of their credibility. So clearly they're making deals with some of these companies where they'll keep it high for a while, but at a certain point they have to file the negative reviews that come in. But like people will pay, stop filing all the negative reviews. Just don't file them. Don't add any more negative reviews. Here, take our money. And I can't prove that that's what's going on exactly, but the results are obvious. And like so many people on YouTube, like I said, have been calling this shit out in various ways for ages. And I always find it so humorous. But there's just so many little aspects to this system that are corruptible and make it all sort of nonsense. And I really recommend going onto YouTube and finding some of the great by the numbers comparisons of different things, of different movies that have good scores that aren't really good movies, but like they look like they're way better movies than comparatively great movies, let's say, because of the weird weighting system that they have going on here. And there's a certain something that I heard, and I couldn't get any more information on it, but it came up a couple times just in passing, which was that there was like a was if the reviewer clearly wasn't the audience for the movie, that they could remove it. And like, what? And I don't, like I said, I couldn't find the information on this, but it was sort of mentioned in and I wish I could remember where it was first mentioned. But it was sort of this also, like, depending on like the audience, like, you know, if it's the wrong audience for the movie. And if that's true, I mean, like, that's just fucking, I mean, that's some next level manipulation. But look at what you're dealing with here. One, you're dealing with these corrupt studio systems, and you're dealing with like the really hot chick in the room who everybody wants. Rotten Tomatoes. They got what these studios need. And, you know, you could even say, to a certain degree, it's like simpatico. Come on, guys. You want Hollywood to succeed so that Rotten Tomatoes can succeed, because then more people are going to movies. And then, so it's like it behooves you guys to cooperate with us. But of course, you know, I know, less authenticity is never the right answer. And there are other ramifications for this, which, you know, there's so many things. You know, people generally don't trust the trust these scores at all anymore. You know, you always see people where they go, well, I shouldn't say where they go one thing or another. I feel like everybody has some sort of metric in their mind that they've made up between making sense of the number that the critics have given a movie and the number that the audience has given a movie. Because so often it's like 90% of the users like this movie, okay, and then the critics are like, fucking hate this movie. But you know what? That actually makes perfect freaking sense now when you understand the basic metrics of Rotten Tomatoes. It's an I liked it or I didn't like it. Oh, users, 98% of them said I liked it. You know, how'd you like the new Steven Seagal movie? I liked it. Did you like the? I don't want to make fun of Bruce Willis. I was about to. This is kind of funny. I guess I got to share it now. I was going to say, do you like the new Bruce Willis Weekend at Bernie's remake? I'm sorry. It's really not cool that they're having him do movies when he's like sick anymore. Like, it feels like you find out all these things about these conservatorships, like they had Britney Spears under, which oh my God, I recently basically just watched a couple little like documentary things, like digging into the behind the scenes of it. And fuck, man, it's like she really got dicked around by her family, no less. It was really messed up. Worth looking into. Free Britney, bitch. But like conservator kind of shit, like where you're being watched and overseen because you can't live your life. Anyway, it's worth digging into, actually. There's a great YouTuber who I really like called BJ Investigates. She's super charming, and she really does her homework. Anyway, yeah, you know, the audience, as somebody who, I guess, I'm a critic on some level or whatever, I try not to, like, do critic stuff. You know, that's why I just do the coolest picks. I like to gush about things. I don't want to sit here and pick everything apart unless I really think that it's useful to pick it apart. Like, you know, like I did a really great 3-episode dissertation, like picking apart like detail by detail episode of like, you know, the Last Jedi and stuff. But, you know, it's not necessary most of the time to get into that kind of detail. You know, it's really just like about the big picture of the thing. And do you see the big picture of the thing here for Rotten Tomatoes? It's like, it's just so fucking corruptible. It's so corruptible. It makes me think, I mean, I'm sure IMDb has been corrupted in all sorts of ways. I think I used to know a couple ways that IMDb had been corrupted, but I'm too exhausted right now for like any of them to come to my head. But at least that's like an average of the user's ratings, because the good bad thing is definitely a really weird metrics. And like it's strange to me that that's what I see every single time I use Flickster, because I use Flickster and like I'll see the Rotten Tomatoes score, tell my girl, I'm like, well, let's got this and whatever. But like that doesn't like mean shit. So I got to go open up another app now and figure out what the freaking proper, average score or whatever it is for the movie or something. I don't know. I usually just like take my recommendations from like seeing what some of the people that I like who are reviewers on YouTube are saying. And, and then occasionally just going with my gut. Going with my gut. I feel it in my gut. So I don't know if there's anything else that is like super important that we haven't hit on as far as Rotten Tomatoes goes. I mean, at this point you're dealing with, it's a broken metric in terms of just like good, bad. How clear of how good is it? You're not finding out how good is it. You're finding out that generally people found it to be good. So, I mean, if you're willing to go with that, then awesome. Generally, people found it to be good, or generally, people found it to be bad, is the only thing that you can get from seeing the Rotten Tomatoes metric. Beyond that, you've got their ability to hold back reviews, negative reviews, positive reviews if they wanted to screw somebody. But, I mean, I'm not accusing this company of anything. I'm just saying what they can do within this system is crazy. If there is an idea that they can go in and remove any comment that is deemed racist, well, there's a lot of leeway in what is being deemed racist on frickin' online these days. It's just there's huge amounts of things that they can scrub. If there is really this thing about they can go in there and change, get rid of critics because you're not really part of the audience. So what children are reviewing movies? When a kid's movie comes out, like 99.9, I'm sure there's some child somewhere, 99.9% of all the reviews are like, oh, those don't count. If the parents just don't get it. But this one kid, he gets it. Just the idea that you can amplify the good ones, that you can weigh things, oh man, it gets so complex. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know what? Put a coffin in it. Put a coffin in it. See, I told you guys, I've been working so fucking hard this week. And I am just exhausted. I was going to do like a fucking coolest pick. And like, oh man, I don't know if I got it in me. Shit. I'm going to try. And then tomorrow I got to do my fucking Friday show, my new show. We've only done like 4 episodes so far, but it's kind of like a esoteric information show, like the shit that you learn from the Freemasons and the Illuminati. It's called Everything They Don't Want You to Know. And we're like my 4th episode or something on Friday. But, oh, fuck, I'm so fucking exhausted. Got to get through all this shit. Fuck. Okay. All right. I'm calling it. Put a fork in me. I'm done. All right. I love you, Coolest Geeks. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Join me for Saturday's show. I've got a cool pick for you guys. I've got a list of a couple of them. I couldn't figure out which one I was gonna do yet, but always something cool on Saturdays. Trust me, I've got good taste. Everything that I recommend, every freaking pick that I've recommended. If you haven't watched every single one of them, go watch every one that I've picked. Like fucking ridiculous. Okay. Like I promise. Good. It's good. I'm trying to get to my little like scripty do that I had like written that helps me end the show sometimes. And, I can't fucking find it anywhere. And so, here it is.
Well, that's it, Coolest Geeks. I'm your passionate geek culture commentator, Jesse Blaze Snider. You can write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. I love you all so much. I look forward to hearing from you. Sorry for being exhausted today. Anyway, thank you for listening to my show, and I hope you'll join me again next Wednesday and this coming Saturday for another ass-kicking episode of the Coolest Geek Alive.
Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah! It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. Coolest alive.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.